And, the last point that he made there, the first thing you need to come away with from this text is there was an absolute beginning to the universe. This has not always been the scientific opinion. It's just been recently that that's come into vogue. Talk about that. The Bible and science agree that it all started someplace.
That's right. We have space-time theorems in physics that tell us that the universe has a beginning that includes the beginning of space and time itself, which means that before God created the universe, he was independent of cosmic time. So time from his perspective is going to obviously be different than it is from our perspective.
Yeah, I love that illustration. If you're an astronaut, because we've got astronauts up there right now, the news is reporting on, and they're seeing 5 or 6 days within like an 8-hour period of time. They're going around so fast. And so for one day for them, you might have, all kinds of revolutions of the earth. And God is further out, as he said, so what is his perspective? What is his time period? And that brings me to the question, how do you think about these yams that are in the text? How do they correspond to what you're seeing in astronomy? Does the science and the Bible agree at that spot?
Well, I'm no Hebrew scholar, but when I first read Genesis, like Walt, I saw that there were 3 different ways this word day was being used. And later I discovered that in Hebrew, the only word you got for a long period of time is the word yom. But what convinced me was reading through Genesis 1 and realizing there's an evening and the morning for the first 6 days, but there isn't for the 7th day. And 3 places in the Bible, Psalm 95, John 5, and Hebrews 4, it tells us we're still in God's 7th day. So the 7th day is not yet finished. And the other thing that persuaded me is that you see in Genesis 1, both the human male and the human female are made on the 6th day. But in Genesis 2, there's obviously a considerable passage of time between God creating Adam and God creating Eve. So if the 6th and 7th day are long periods of time, the grammar that's used in Genesis 1 would tell us all the days are long periods of time.
Hugh, before you were a Christian, you studied almost all the holy books that you could find. And when you compared them with what the Bible said, you realized the Bible is the only one that gives this kind of information. Explain what you mean.
Well, it's the only one that actually tells us that God creates independent of time, outside of time, rather than within time that eternally exists. It's also the only one that got the order of events right in Genesis 1 with respect to the scientific record, got the time scale right, and also gave the explanation for the fossil record, why we see so much new species of life coming into existence before humanity and virtually none afterwards. For 6 days God creates, on the 7th day he stops his work of creation. Of all the holy books I looked at, it was the only one that perfectly fit what the book of nature was declaring. As after all, the Bible tells us God revealed himself through 2 ways, the book of nature and the book of scripture, and it's the Bible that gives us that perfect fit.